Password is competition.
And also make sure to mute your mics as you come in.
Yeah, make sure to mute your mics as you come in. How many people we got?
Oh, we've got a lot of people attending. I'm so happy to see everyone.
You know, it's unfortunate no one really understood my joke.
Your mask joke? You literally confused like everyone.
It was ill timed.
I don't understand.
because it
Like,
wasn't a
I
joke.
literally don't. Guys, it was just a joke. I mean, I I thought it was funny, but no one understood it. It's my fault. All right, it's my fault. I thought it was a good joke because I made the same joke on the Instagram. So I was hoping to make the same one again.
But that joke was a comment. It wasn't a post.
Okay.
Okay, so for everyone who's just coming in, go to the link. Actually, we can send it in the chat and just sign in so that we can track who's.
I just won't ever be funny ever again.
You never would.
Okay.
So Emily just sent the link in the chat.
I hope people are coming. Yeah, we got 70 people in. We got one person. Okay. Pretty decent amount of people. All right, guys, as you're joining, make sure to fill out the sign-in form on the website. Password is competition. Password is competition. We're probably going to start, let's say it's 34 now. We let people in at like 32.
We can start in the next like 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I'm good with 37. Okay, we got 73 people in so far. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, can if you guys are just joining, make sure to fill out the form. Password is competition. Sign in form to get points.
And we'll probably get started in the next minute or so as the last people start coming in.
Good. Today's meeting is going to be longer than usual, but we're going to try to keep it short and sweet, at least each slide. So hopefully it doesn't get too overwhelming as we talk about each competitive event. Okay, I think we should start.
Okay, we can get started.
There's one person that's still stuck that has been joining for the past like 5 minutes, but
we can yeah.
Okay, so hi guys. I'm glad to see all of you came back for the competition info meeting. I'm glad you came for this meeting specifically because we're going to be basically briefing you guys on all the aspects of competition. We're going to try to be detailed, but obviously we can't describe everything in this one meeting. So a lot of it is going to have to come down to you guys doing more research, but we're going to try to answer as many questions as possible too. But bear with us as we go through it, all right?
All right, so this meeting is going to be, like Danny said, about competition. So I just want to start off by talking about the 3 levels of competition. We kind of briefly mentioned this last time. The first level is at district. It's going to be at Woodlands High, and that's in January. So second, yeah.
It's actually going to be online this year.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's going to be online. Yeah, I don't know why we have the picture. Yeah. And then the state one is going to be, as of now, it's going to be in Dallas and International in Anaheim at Disney. So, yeah.
All right, so let's just talk about competition in general. Every person can do one main competitive event. So this is either a role play, a written event, or a professional selling. But in addition to that main competitive event, you can also do any kind of online competition, whether it's a VBC, participating in the stock market game, or doing the case study challenge or entrepreneurship challenge. So any of those additional events can be added on to your main competitive event. And we're going to go more in detail on each of these different types of events as we progress through the slideshow.
Again, we're going to be talking about our competition timeline. As Isha said, we're going to be going more into detail about a lot of these things, so you just forward your questions until a little bit later. So our first thing is the Entrepreneurship Challenge. That actually, registration for that challenge actually opened up on Monday, and today is the last day to sign up. So if you want to do that, please do that today. The case study yesterday, and that was the last day to sign up for the marketing case study, but there's going to be more case studies in the future. We're going to be hosting a competition Q&A Zoom on October 7th to really help you get a better idea and answer all your questions about competition. The virtual business online begins October 20th, and registration will be on October. We'll get more information on it. And then competition is from October 12th to 16th, so please make sure you start thinking about it after this meeting. The idea challenge will be revealed and run from November 20th to 30th. Our practice test session is TBD for now. We're going to let you guys know more information on that later. And we're going to also be hosting a more in-detail competitive event meeting that will give you a lot of tips on your written and roleplay event on November 11th. And the deadline will be February 7th. But that's going to be a little bit farther next year.
And just to clarify, the main point on this slide is going to be the competition registration week, which is for your main event. So that's either your role play, written, or personal selling. And that's going to be happening October 12th to 16th. And we're going to go over everything else later in the slideshow.
Yeah, and then also the difference between the competition Q&A Zoom and the competition event detail meeting. So the competition Q&A Zoom is going to help you guys. Once we go over all the competition, you guys can ask us questions at that specific meeting. So we'll just be open to taking in questions. All the officers will be in the Zoom, and you guys can just hop in and ask questions while you're deciding a competitive event. And then the competitive event meeting in more detail meeting will be November 11th, and that's basically after you choose your competition. We're going to go in depth, rubric wise, and show you what you guys need to clarify things further. Right?
And also, those will be like tips to say how you can be successful in whatever event you choose to do.
Okay, so to start off, so in DECA, you have different career clusters. Each career cluster comprises of multiple different competitive events. And if you haven't looked at the DECA website yet, I definitely recommend going and looking at it. So if you go to the first page, competition, you'll see all of the different clusters and all of the different events underneath each cluster. So say if you're interested in business management administration, if you go to the DECA website, you will see business management administration, and it'll have all the events for that category. Similar with entrepreneurship, finance, hospitality and tourism, marketing, and personal financial literacy. And all of those clusters are explained briefly on the website as well if you want to learn a little bit more. But underneath each cluster will be each event, along with the guidelines for the event, rubrics, and sample papers. So that brings us on to our first type of event. So in DECA, you have two types of events. You have written events and you have role play events. So the first one we're going to discuss is written events.
Oh, I'm just going to hold you for 1 second. I think there's a couple of people in the waiting room.
Oh, is there? Oopsies.
Yeah, just coming in a little.
Okay. Good thing is Emily, you're recording, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's recording.
So written events, basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to be writing a paper, and usually that paper is 10 or 20 pages, depending on each event. So when you go into the Texas DECA website and you select an event, you're going to get the guidelines for it, and in the rubric, it will usually say if it's 10 to 20 pages long. Some require an exam. So some require, depending on what cluster you choose and what competitive event you choose, some of them will have an exam. I haven't taken the exam personally, but a lot of the officers here have, and a lot of the upperclassmen have. So usually we have a lot of competition material and exam preparatory material within the Canvas that you can check on. And usually the guidelines will cover what areas of the cluster, what areas will be covered on the exam. So you'll be able to look further into that based off of your rubric. But yeah, so when you write a paper, once you take the exam, You're also going to be submitting a paper to the judge as well, which will be reviewed before competition. You're going to present your paper at competition. The judge will already have your paper. You're basically going to make a separate presentation alongside your paper. And if the judge has any questions regarding the paper or the presentation, they'll ask you then. Obviously, since you're presenting, you're going to want to be as engaging as possible. So that's when it comes into looking at for visual aids, so poster boards, flyers, business cards, etc., etc. Just things to keep your judge engaged throughout your presentation. And scoring varies between events. So to give an example of that, since some events have an exam, there's gonna be a composite score that's gonna compile your exam score along with your paper score and your presentation score. If you're not taking an exam, it's just gonna be your presentation combined with your paper score to give you total overall score. Usually the split is like 60-40, 60 presentation, am I correct? 60 presentation or 40 presentation?
It's 40 presentation.
40 presentation and 60 your paper.
And just to add on, oh, can we go back for 1 second? Just to add on to this, yes, it's like a 10 to 20 page paper, but you can also do it with a team, or you can do it with a team of 2 or 3. So you could split up the work that way, and you also have several months to work on it. So although it might sound a little bit overwhelming to write such a long paper, it really doesn't end up taking that much time. You just split it up a little bit each week, and it's very manageable. So now we're going to talk about the first category of written events, which are the integrated marketing campaign events. These are 10-page papers, and you actually develop a marketing campaign. It's a theoretical marketing campaign for a real-world event, product, or service. So those are the 3 categories within this type of event. And this is the one type of written event that has an exam, which is going to be the marketing cluster exam, and that's 100 questions, and you have 90 minutes, but time is never really an issue for anyone. And what's really cool about this is you get to learn about all of the components that go into developing a really good marketing campaign, and you also have to try to create a realistic budget for whatever event, product, or service you're doing it for. And I'm actually going to introduce Zoe Wong. She is one of our senior members here at College Park DECA, and she's also the vice president of District For DECA. And she's been doing these integrated marketing campaign events for the past couple of years. So she's going to tell you a little bit more about the specifics of this.
Yeah, so first off, I'm Zoe. I'm the District For chapter vice president of chapter campaigns. So I help to work with all the chapters achieve their goals, providing any guidance. And this year I'm also going to be leading the community service project. So this is like one of the most exciting activities we do because all the chapters participate in reaching this overarching goal. We'll be announcing this year on like the goal, this project on our Instagram page. So be sure to check it out on District 4 Instagram at Texas DECA 4. And then I'm also doing an Instagram takeover there. So if you guys have any additional questions just regarding like District 4, you guys can just ask away and I'll be sure to answer them. And so before I go back to the slides, I just want to stress like all the underclassmen, specifically the freshmen, that DECA like not only gives you competition experience where you can like refine your presentation and speaking skills, but there's also like a lot of leadership opportunities for you. So you have all these wonderful chapter officers here that lead these meetings. You also have district, state, and like even international offers, and it's all very well integrated, and you can meet a lot of people who have very similar passions with you. So that's absolutely amazing. And so just going on, like be sure to explore like all the opportunities like DECA has to offer. And so now back to like the IMC. So I competed in the IMCE and IMCS. So specifically last year, my partner and I created like a 40-day marketing campaign for a coffee shop. And what was really cool about this coffee shop was that it provided jobs for the homelessness, and they were able to have like a program that transitioned these individuals back to like the workforce. So we had all types of activities like social campaigns, press releases, community events that we implement and discuss. So what's really cool about these events, like all the like for event, product, or service, is that you can literally, whatever interest, product or service or event, any type of company that you're interested, you just have to create a campaign around it. So it has a lot of like creativity and the imagination is all up to you.
Absolutely. And Zoe and I actually did this event 2 years ago, and we did it for a film festival, and that was also it allowed us to express ourselves very creatively and come up with something very interesting. So I highly recommend this event. And I also want to stress one more thing. Zoe is a district officer, and there are so many schools within District 4. So it's really an honor to have a district officer as a part of College Park DECA. And so if you also have any questions about how district competition or anything like that is going to work, you can always ask her or check out their Instagram, Texas DECA 4. On to the next slide.
Hey, thank you, Zoe. Next.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about business operation research events. And for this event, you basically work alongside a business to develop a strategy for them. So this year's specific prompt is to develop a strategy to rebuild customer loyalty and spending as a result of business disruption for at least the previous 6 months. So like I said, you will work alongside a local business or organization. So the 5 different types of businesses you can pick from are businesses, basically places that offer services, buying and merchandising, where customers purchase items. So this is any stores. Doesn't necessarily have to be clothing. It can be like a grocery store or a car dealership. Finance, which is a company that provides financial services to customers like a bank. Hospitality and tourism, which provides services relating to lodging, restaurant management, and tourism. And sports and entertainment marketing, which provides services related to sports and entertainment, like music venues, sports facilities, places like that. So when you pick your local business or organization, you definitely want to pick if you know them. I did this last year with my partner. We didn't know the business, but it would be best if you did, because you have to ask them for kind of personal information like finances, and not everyone's going to be willing to give that out to you. So when you do this event, you are going to assume the role of a consultant, and the judge is going to assume the role of the owner or manager of the business organization. So you are going to develop your business strategy based on research you conduct. So this can be interviews, surveys, focus groups, things like that. So last year I did this with my partner, and we did it on Blue Door Coffee, which is a local coffee shop. And this was for the hospitality and tourism category. And so we conducted multiple interviews with the management team, we surveyed students, and we held a focus group. So this is a really great way to get involved with a business and kind of learn like the ins and outs. And yeah, I highly recommend it. And for this event, it's a 20-page paper.
And the difference between the business operations research and some of the other events is that in this event, in this category of event, you're actually dealing with the business in the real world. Like you have to get the real numbers and the real facts from that business directly. But for some of the other events like IMC or like entrepreneurship events, you're creating a theoretical thing.
Okay, moving on. And guys, like Isha said before, don't worry about the page limit. It honestly isn't as bad as it looks. I mean, once you look at these sample papers, you're gonna see how much creativity is involved in the paper, and sometimes you'll have fun with it. I usually have fun with it, and I'm pretty sure all the officers say the same. It's really cool, and it really forces you to be creative with your competitive event. Next one.
We're going to be talking about project management events. And this is where you're going to plan, implement, and evaluate the school and community outreach activities following the project management process. So essentially what this means is you're not only going to be creating a marketing strategy for whatever specific category in project management, you're also going to be implementing it and doing like a real life activity. So for example, last year, me and my team, we did community awareness, and we created a social media campaign as well as like an in-person campaign spreading awareness of cyberbullying. And we actually did events inside the school, so as well as creating a whole social media following as well. So with these events, the whole chapter can be involved, but you are the representative leader of the project. So there's one team per category of project management event. So as a result, if you want to do one of these, please make sure you let us know ahead of time so you can kind of pitch your idea if there are multiple people vying for the same competition. And there can be 1 to 3 people per team. So it's not that bad if you split up among multiple people, especially since this is, I know it might seem like really daunting, like actually implementing something into like the live. If you have multiple people, it's completely fine, and a lot of people are really successful on their own as well. This again is a 20-page length limit.
Yeah, and just to emphasize on that point, if you want to do project management, you got to consult with us officers in Miss Lowe as well, so that we can brief you. I know Ada did it last year, and they brought an idea to the table, and we basically helped them with it and gave them our thoughts, and then they also had to pitch it to us with Miss Lowe. So it's really important that you reach out to us if you want to do it, and it's really fun. I don't know if anyone here has recognized it on Instagram, but Ada and her team did a really good job last year with their marketing. So if you have any questions about that, you can contact Ada.
We actually had 2 very successful freshman teams. So even if it's your first year in DECA, you can definitely do one of these. I think both teams ended up qualifying for internationals. So this is a really cool event.
Yeah, if you're really passionate about STEM awareness kind of project, or you have affiliations with any kind of program in the area, it's definitely a good idea. Next.
So this is a little bit more in detail about each project management event. With business solutions, you're going to work with a local business to help solve a specific problem by implementing a solution. With community awareness, you're going to raise awareness of a community. It's pretty much self-explanatory. And this year, me and my team are doing it. Unfortunately, you cannot do community awareness. But community giving, you raise funds for a charity. Career development, you promote or educate knowledge and skills unique to the 5 career clusters of DECA. Financial literacy, promote financial literacy and just raise awareness about it. And with sales projects, you just raise funds for the local DECA chapter.
Okay. All right, so moving on to entrepreneurship events. So there are several different types of entrepreneurship events. So to start off, we have innovation plan, which is basically developing a business idea. So if you or you and your team came up with, say, a product or a service, and you want to turn it into a business, a hypothetical business, you would basically be required to write a paper about it in detail, describing financials along with what the business is about, and certain research in the area as well. So market research and whatnot included in your innovation plan paper. Next is business planning. So startup business plan, independent business plan, international business plan, franchise business plan. So these are all under a similar category where you basically take an existing business and you're writing a paper on that. So for startup, actually, it's going to be something similar to innovation plan. If you guys have a startup that you were interested in and want to write a paper about that, that's what that paper is going to be about. Independent business plan, international, and franchise are pretty much in the name. So independent business plan is if you do research on a certain business in the area and want to write about that, you can. International business plan is taking a business and in one place and expanding it internationally to multiple different locations. And then franchise business plan, which is which is a competition that I did with Ashton last year, is basically taking an existing franchise and implementing new strategies or ideas to improve, say, revenue or product and services. But basically, they're all kind of under the similar category that you're doing research on them, market research specifically about like competition, finance, as well as expansion in those papers. And the guidelines, again, are on the DECA website.
Yeah,
And
Ashton, you want to talk a little bit about what we did last year?
sure. Yeah, so like Danny said, we did franchise business plan. It was really fun. I've been doing it for 3 years now. Danny's been doing it for 2 years. We both advanced to ICDC 2 times with franchise business plan. So like he said, you essentially take an existing franchise. Like last year, we did this franchise called Snapology. Franchises can include like something like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. Those are essentially franchise businesses. It doesn't just have to be restaurants though. And yeah, we pretty much did like background research on the franchise. it was pretty much like we were asking an investor and we were planning to open a franchise in a certain location. That was kind of the idea behind the paper. And yeah, we pretty much, it was a lot of strategy, and we had to like look at finance and marketing and all of that. So it's kind of everything together. And it's a really good introduction and a very valuable event. So moving on to business growth plan. This is kind of an interesting one, and it is a sort of a business plan like the other ones, but it actually has to be a business that's owned by a current DECA member, right? So it could be something that, like, you know, if you like have your own company, it has to be a real company. I think you do have to provide some kind of documentation for it. It can be like nonprofit, real company, LLC, whatever it is. You can take that and pretty much strategize, like as in the name, how to grow that company. You kind of build a business plan around that. So in terms of page limits, it's pretty self-explanatory, as you can see here. Innovation and startup are only 10, and everything else is 20 pages.
And these events are really cool because a lot of the time you can connect, like if you're doing innovation or startup business plan, you could also submit those business proposals to other student business competitions like the Diamond Challenge, or you could also submit it for like the Entrepreneurship Challenge, which is hosted by Texas DECA. So those can translate to other competitions that are outside of DECA. And you can also, a lot of times you find people, if you're doing science fair or something like that, you can take your science fair idea and then convert it into a startup business plan or an innovation plan idea. So that's what's pretty cool about that.
Yeah, we had a couple kids that did that last year, and a lot of these entrepreneurship events involve a lot of creativity, and you can also reach out to businesses as well, even though you don't have to, like business operations. Ash and I reached out to Snapology, which was a tutoring company, and we basically got a lot of information from them that was really helpful for the paper. And yeah, I definitely recommend reaching out to people. Networking is like one of the biggest philosophies within DECA, and it's one of the things that you guys should definitely work on throughout your high school career. So yeah, I definitely.
We actually, I just want to add, while we're on that point, we actually got in contact with the CEO of the company itself, and she helped us in our presentation. She like gave us like testimonial and everything, and that was like a big part of the reason we got to ICDC. So cool things like that can happen.
There was no reason to flex there, but okay.
So, moral of the story: don't be afraid to reach out to whatever company you're doing, because you never know what might happen.
I don't know how to erase it. Oh well, just deal with the mark there. So now moving on to professional selling. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I think Ashton is muted, so I think he's just trying to say something about professional selling.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry about that. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to professional selling. So in professional selling, this is sort of like more on the like role play side of things, and you're pretty much acting as sort of a sales representative or like a consultant for a lot of these different things. So for financial consulting, it's kind of in the name. You're kind of being a consultant for, like, in this case, it's going to be like a millennial who needs help with like their financials. So you kind of propose to the judge like a series of steps or plan in order for them to pretty much, you know, improve their finances overall. In terms of hospitality and tourism, it's kind of the same thing, except you're pretty much acting as a sales representative for a sponsorship from that sort of hospitality or tourism event. And you're pretty much trying to convince them if you can sponsor at the event. And professional selling is a pretty similar thing. You're pretty much just trying to sell a service or product to a certain business. And yeah, it requires an exam. You present in front of the judge, and yeah.
So this is, and like just to add on to it, this is kind of like you're a Shark Tank pitcher, and you're just trying to pitch whatever product you're doing to the judges.
Does anyone want to kind of explain more about the exams and where they can get resources for that, and like questions and whatnot, just so
yeah, I'm going to add on to that, like as we move on to the role plays, which
Okay.
is our next step.
Roleplay events.
So without further ado, this is the second category, second main, oh, you have some, the second main category of competitive events, and that's role play. So we're going to go into the basic structure. The basic structure of role play, this kind of event is more geared for people who like to think on their feet. I really enjoy doing role play, and the other great thing about it is you don't have to worry about creating a paper or a presentation. You just study your content, you know your stuff, and then you go into the competition, and then you have some time to prepare for your so this one is more for if you like to think on your feet and you don't want to write the paper. So this is an impromptu problem-solving competition, and there's many different categories, and it's divided by career clusters. And depending on which role play you're taking, you're going to take the career cluster exam, which we've been mentioning so many times. It has 100 questions, and you have 90 minutes to take it. So as I mentioned briefly earlier, nobody really has any issues with the time limit most of the time. Most people finish with it with like 30 or 40 minutes to spare, so don't worry about that. A lot of it just comes down to if you studied the topic well enough and you know yourself. It's not really a time crunch. So how do you study for these exams? Well, there are so many practice resources and practice exams linked in our Canvas page. And also, if you want like additional practice, there's a ton of Quizlets and whatnot available on the internet. All you have to do is look up DECA Finance Career Cluster Exam Resources. And there's going to be a plethora of stuff on Google. And we have also compiled some of the best stuff on our Canvas page. So if you ever, if you're doing one of these events, you can reference the Canvas page first. If you've exhausted those resources, you can always look for more on the internet. So that's how you prepare for the test. And it's also how you're going to kind of be preparing for your role play. So when you're doing a role play, you study beforehand, you go to the competition, and then they'll give you the scenario. There's you either have 10 minutes to prepare if you're doing it individually, or you have 30 minutes to prepare if you're doing it on a team of 2. And your role play is the majority of your score, it's 2/3, and the exam is going to be 1/3 of your score. And also, if you get too low of a score on your exam, you actually are automatically disqualified. So you have to study and prepare a little bit for the exam, and we have tons of resources compiled for you to do so.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea, last year, most of the people who did role play, who took the exam for the first time, passed and moved on to the next level to state. So don't be too worried about that. Especially like they're not too difficult. They get harder as you move along, but don't be the person to be like, well, I'm dumb, I'm not going to pass it. Yeah, I think you will, and I think all of you here are capable. Next.
Okay, so for principal role plays, the first thing I want to say about principal role plays is that it is only for first-year members. It's not required for first-year members, but only first-year members can sign up. So you just have very broad categories. You have principles of finance, hospitality and tourism, marketing, business management, and administration. So those are basically all the things that your role play is going to be about. It's great if you want a relatively easy introductory event. I will say that it's very broad. My freshman year, I did principles of marketing. It was very broad. It just gives you very broad marketing questions. It requires the business administration core exam. What I can tell you about the business administration core exam is that it gives you very just relative questions to business. So you will get a very wide array of questions, but they will all be related to business. This is an individual event. You will have 10 minutes to look at your prompt, and you will have to study your performance indicators beforehand. You will have 10 minutes to look at your prompt and 10 minutes to present after you have created your plan of what you're going to say.
And just to add on to that, so I know there's different clusters for role play, and if you don't necessarily know what kind of questions or scenarios are going to comprises in each one, that's why we recommend going and looking at the prompts, because all of them are similar. All of them are related to that cluster. So if it's principles of finance, it's probably going to be a financial problem. Read the prompts and you'll know if you're capable of thinking on the spot about how to solve it. Hospitality and tourism, usually we'll talk about like a hotel or um, a vacation spot. So you read the prompts and you'll kind of get an impression on what each cluster is going to ask and what the prompts will be like ahead of time.
And one cool thing about the principles, as Caitlin mentioned, it's only first year members. So that doesn't mean you have to be a freshman. It just means that all the people in these events, it's their first year in DECA. And that means that you're not competing with someone who's had like years of experience. And the other good thing about it is it kind of introduces you to a specific career cluster. And what a lot of our members will do is maybe they start off in a finance principles event, and then they're going to be able to go on and do a more specific role play event in a cluster of finance. So it prepares you to go into a more specific one afterwards.
Moving on.
The next type of role play is a team decision event. And this is what I did last year. And it's a lot of fun because it's a role play event, but you don't have to do it by yourself. You can do it with a partner. So it's not as intimidating for some people. And these events are only for teams of 2. The other difference between team decision making and the rest of the individual role plays is that instead of having 10 minutes to prepare after you get the prompt, you have 30 minutes to prepare. And I think the reason for that added time is because you're working as a team, so you need to be able to coordinate how you're going to deliver the content. Also, I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but for the individual role plays, you have a 10-minute presentation time, and that includes the questions, I'm pretty sure. But for the team decision making, the 10-minute presentation is separate from the 5 minutes for judges to ask questions. And the other thing is, with your team, you want to make sure you choose a partner who's also comfortable with thinking on their feet and speaking, because both of you have to participate equally. And this goes for all team events in DECA. Even if you're doing a written event and you're giving a presentation, you should divide that presentation equally among your team members. And this also includes a career cluster exam, which we've talked so much about. So last year I did the finance team decision making. And so just to give you guys an example of a scenario that you might get, we had in one of our practice scenarios, we were like supposed to be the financial advisors of a family. And the role play gives you some specific numbers about their income and like how much they need to save for retirement, how much they need to save for their kids' college. And then as the financial advisors, my partner and I had to come up with a plan for their future financial security and give them advice, and also talk about the importance of investing and budgeting. So that's what you'll notice is we have tons of sample role plays linked in Canvas. And what you'll notice the more sample role plays you do to prepare is that there's these patterns that will emerge. And that's kind of what Danny was talking about on the previous slide. And as the more you practice, you'll see that there are certain patterns for different events, and the prompt, your specific scenario, will typically fall within a couple of broad categories. So you could either be giving financial advice or making a plan for a bank or something like that. So depending on, you're going to see some patterns. And so don't be too afraid like, oh, it could be any scenario in the world. No, you're going to see some patterns the more you practice. So there's nothing to worry for that.
And those patterns are usually detailed. They're called performance indicators. And again, I just want to emphasize that we're going to be having a meeting that goes into even more specifics about each event. So once you choose, if you want to do role play or you want to do entrepreneurship, our meetings will talk about that, tips and tricks on how to identify role play and whatnot. So don't worry about that.
Okay, so the third and final type of role play that you can do is an individual series role play. And you can think of this as a lot like a principals role play or like a team decision role play, but only for one competitor. So just like a principals role play, which is also individual, it's a 10 minutes to look at your role play and prepare your speech and your presentation, and then you present it with a time limit of 10 minutes. The main difference that you want to look at here is that there's 2 role plays that you do at competition instead of 1. This is at state and ICDC. At district, you still only do 1, but at state, you would do 2 role plays instead of 1 like the other kinds. The other thing about individual series role plays is that they are a lot more specific in nature than a principals event or some TDM event. Some of the specific events to go from fashion marketing, accounting, human resource management, restaurant management, marketing communications. There's also hotel management. Like, these are really good events if you have some very specialized area that you're interested in the pretense of a role play. So if you're really interested in particularly like, I really want to learn more about hotel management, then you can look into the hotel management individual role play. So this is also because you're going to be presenting by yourself, and because you don't have the whole principles thing to level the playing field. These especially cater well to people that are very comfortable presenting on the spot, or if you have, like I said, a very specialized interest that is catered to by one of the options. Personally, last year I did the human resource management role play, and those role plays all focused specifically on human resource management. There was never a role play that I did that wasn't specifically about human resource management.
And this is one other option that you have for a role play, and it's called the personal financial literacy. So it's basically like an individual series or any kind of individual role play, except for instead of going based on the main career clusters, you're specifically focused on personal finance. So they actually designed this event for people who take personal finance or financial literacy classes in school. So if you're doing one of those in school already, then this might be a really good event for you. But I would also say it's very relevant to anyone who wants to learn more about personal finance, which is something that's so important in all of our futures. So if that's something you're interested in, then this event can help you learn about those components of personal finance, budgeting, investing, and whatnot. And so for the test for this event, you have to learn and cover all the performance indicators on personal finance. And then you don't take a career cluster exam, you take a personal finance exam. And then for your role play, you're going to kind of assume the role of, they have different scenarios, but you're basically going to assume the role of a financial advisor. So you're going to apply all that knowledge that you've either learned in your school class for personal finance or in your independent research. And you're going to help someone else, the judge in this situation, like your client, come up with a personal finance plan. So this is still 10 minutes for presentation, 10 minutes for preparation, and 10 minutes for presentation, just like the individual role plays. But the main difference is it's not in that career cluster category. It's just its own thing. It's personal finance.
All right, so we're on to online events, and basically these events are like simulations of real life businesses that you would do. So yeah, they're web-based simulation competitions of different tracks such as entrepreneurship, fashion, restaurant, hotel, and etc. You can compete with 1 to 3 people, and basically this event is basically you simulating a business that you would have in real life. So for example, in fashion, you would have a fashion line, and you would have to be up to date with current trends in fashion. And with all these events, you have to be very knowledgeable about what's currently going on in the market. So there's 2 rounds. There's one in October and January, and you have basically 2 chances to make ICDC. And if you qualify to ICDC, you can win money at ICDC. There's a huge range of events, actually. There's entrepreneurship, fashion, like I mentioned before, and they all require like specific. They require specific things to do for the event. So for example, in fashion, of course, like you would have to learn about different fashion trends, like I mentioned before, and I was rambling. So yeah, basically I would suggest researching about the different events that you see here, different tracks, and basically just see which one you're interested in. And if you have any questions, just ask us about it in competition prep. For our meeting and competition prep.
Yeah, I'd say the simulation is like a video game. It's like Sims.
It's
like
pretty
Papa's
fun.
Pizzeria.
So it's not like it's not just it's not a website. It's like a video game, and there's a lot of things you can do and make in it and be creative, and you get like a whole portal you have to download.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Can I to mention a little further? Last year I did the restaurant virtual business challenge, and you literally just had a restaurant, and you would have to consider all these different things of like that factored into the simulation, like marketing and stuff like that. And the goal in order to like determine whether you qualified or not was literally just how much money you could make with that restaurant in the simulation in a year. So
Yeah,
that's like, it's like a really fun game, basically.
it's
And
basically just like running a real life business, but online. So
and one more thing that I think we already mentioned this earlier, but I really want to stress this with online events is that online events are not a main kind of event. You have your one main event, which is a role play, a written, or a professional selling event, and you can do as many online competitions as you want. So you could do a role play and 3 VBC. We wouldn't recommend that. You can do one normal event and then you can do one VBC. Like those things are not mutually exclusive, but you can't do a role play and a written.
And also, if you're already pretty committed this year and you're not sure if you can write a paper, well, you can always still participate in the online events, and you could just do that by itself as well. But as Emily said, you can add it on, and you can do as many online events as you want along with your main competition.
Yeah, it's a massive. That's going directly to ICDC, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're also a lot more flexible, like with time management, and isn't required to do as much as, like it does require consistent efforts, but not as much as you would expect from written events or role plays.
Sorry, someone asked how they do it online. Like
Yes,
how
so
they do the virtual business challenge online.
there's like a registration process that we probably need to send out and remind. So yeah, we're gonna send that out pretty soon. Yeah, and so the second type of virtual event is a stock market game. And it's basically, like the name suggests, that you develop and manage a virtual investment of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And you're basically keeping track of stocks and investing and selling stocks. And you're trying to earn as much as money as possible between 4 to 5 months. You can work alone, or you can work with a max of 3 people. And there top 25 teams from each region, so from Texas to Florida, qualify to present their portfolio at ICDC. So if you make ICDC, you basically have to write like 10 pages and present for 15 minutes about your portfolio and what you did and your strategy regarding stocks. So yeah, and with both the virtual business challenge and the stock market game, it requires you to have knowledge about like current knowledge about the market and what's going on. And yeah, so for more information about this competition, go to Canvas under online events preparation or talk to us later in the next meeting.
Ashton, did you get information from Ms. Lowe about sign up?
I don't think we know exactly how it's going to work yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just have a general idea. She just sent like the calendar and those some very general dates, but not exact dates yet.
Okay.
She said they're gonna send a big email out today though.
Okay, so once we get that information, you guys still have time. They're happening this year, so when we get more information on that, but you have time to decide if you want to do it or not.
And I want to say it's really cool if you advance straight to ICDC, because I remember last year at the Texas DECA conference, there was this one school and they had like 5 or 6 teams from that one school that all advanced straight to ICDC from the stock market game. And that's pretty cool. If you just don't even have to worry about state competition at all, you can go straight to ICDC.
And it's almost been 40 minutes, so we're going to try to speed this up for a bit.
Okay, so now we're just going to mention those 2 challenges that are unique to Texas DECA this year. The first is the Entrepreneurship Challenge. It opened on Monday, and you have to register by tonight if you want to do it. And I'm going to send the link for that registration right now. The password is technology, and you can just sign up independently. You don't have to go through us for that. This is going to be a 3-week-long pitch competition, and their prompt is to create some sort of technology-based information tool that could be used by high school students. And you have to submit a 1-page executive summary and a 5-minute pitch video by October 2nd. So you can either do that by yourself or as a team of 2. And I would definitely recommend considering this if you have any ideas, because you can do this along with whatever you want, and it's not very much commitment.
Okay, moving on to the case study challenge. I hope if you guys were interested in it, you signed up for it at least this week. This week was the first week of case study. Yesterday was the sign up, so if you haven't, it's too late now, but you can always do next week. But it's similar to a role play. So I strongly recommend the Entrepreneurship Challenge and the Case Study Challenge, because it's new from last year and it's a great opportunity to see what kind of event you're interested in. There's really no harm in doing it, and it will help you come registration time when you regret your decision and you pick a competition, and then we have the competition information meeting where we give you tips and you don't like your competitive event. If you think you're going to be that kind of person, then I definitely recommend doing the case study challenge and doing entrepreneurship challenge, because you have some time. And case study challenge, there's going to be a new one every week. I described it in the video. It's on Canvas and it's on the YouTube channel as well. So if you're interested, it's going to be weekly. So make sure to register for that. And also to touch on one thing, for Kate, so Caitlin actually made a video recapping the last two meetings, so returning meeting and non-return, and the new member meeting. So if you weren't able to attend either of those, Caitlin did a really good job making a recap video on where to sign up, what to do, like for dues and whatnot. But I definitely recommend the case study challenge. Registration opens on Tuesday morning and closes Tuesday night, and it's going to be every week. There's 8 challenges for every cluster. For each cluster there's a challenge. Top 10 are recognized, top 3 get a LinkedIn digital badge, yada, yada. First place gets a $500 scholarship. Talked about in the video. So if you're really interested in it, make sure to do it.
And you can do multiple of these, and all it takes is you to make a 5-minute video. So it's very low commitment. You can do multiple of them, and you can also win $500. So it's really cool. And even if you think that, yeah, I think I'm going to be happy with my competitive event, you can still do this challenge just in addition to it.
Yeah, any new members definitely recommend, because obviously returning, you probably have an idea what you want to do, but definitely recommend it for new members. All right, other challenges?
Okay, so some other challenges you can participate in are the idea challenge, which is you will have to find an innovative use for an everyday item. So in the past 2 years, these items have included paper clips and shoelaces. And this occurs during Global Entrepreneurship Week, which is in November, and you will have 1 week to complete a video pitch about your product. And you can work in a team of 3 to 5 people. And more info about this will come out when we get closer to November. And the FIDM challenge is already open, and you have until February 7th to complete it. And what it is you will have to create a proposal for a new product idea related to clothing, beauty, home, health, food, or entertainment, and you'll make a video presentation about that. This can be 1 to 3 members can participate. And again, February 7th is the deadline, and the winning team will advance automatically to ICDC. So I will send out the link in the chat so you can already start working on that if you're interested.
So moving on, how do I choose an event? So we kind of described it throughout. If you go to Canvas, competition looks like that. So if you click the competition button, you'll get access to all of the events, some guidelines and some sample papers. If you want more, go to DECA.org, first page. All the clusters are there along with the events and the guidelines and rubrics. It's really well laid out for you to check out. If you have any questions, make sure to contact us through the Remind or email. And things to consider: working alone or working with a team. What do you do better? And how are you going to manage your time? How much time do you have available? So this is all outside of school. We don't really have as many meetings as we throughout the year. So it's going to be up to you when you're deciding how much time you're going to spend every week, every day, week, or whatnot. Strengths and weaknesses. So that's where research is really good things. So if you are considering role play or entrepreneurship, look at the rubrics, look at what they ask for. If you have an idea or indication of what they ask for, if you can solve a couple role plays, that would be pretty cool to do. And then don't be scared if you don't know a certain section. I know when I did entrepreneurship, there was one section I had no clue about finance, that I had no clue what to do. I just got help with that, and we're obviously here to help for one particular section. Just do what you are passionate about, worry about the nitty-gritty things later, and I'm pretty sure you'll get through it. And then also future careers, plans, and personal interests. Obviously, that's a big part. If you're passionate about something, do it. Don't get too bogged down by what the rubric says, because you'll figure it out. So competition in Canvas and also DECA Direct, pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So you guys are probably all wondering, how do I register for competition? It's pretty simple. We just created a form. I'm putting it in chat right now. We'll also send it over the Remind and put it on the Canvas. But the form is pretty self-explanatory. You do have to be paid member first. So you can, I think we sent out the link to do that a while back. We'll probably send it out again. Please only one person per team sign up. If we have more than one person per team, then it kind of messes things up. And only selecting one competitive event. Remember, this is like your main event, so you're only going to select one, and we will not change it. So you have to make sure you're final on your decision when you fill out the form. And then October 16th is the big date. Anything after that will not be considered. So you have to get it in by then.
And that's a month from now. So don't like panic and realize like, oh, they're talking about it now. That means I need to figure it out as soon as possible. I'll go on tonight and research every single event, and then I'm going to hastily make a decision by some random event that looks cool to me. You have a full month to look through all the information, ask questions, think about it a little bit more. This is just if you happen to be sure already and you're a paying member, then you can fill it out.
And yeah, in between that, from then from now to October 16th, we will be having a Q&A Zoom. So if you have any questions about a specific event, you can hop in and we'll answer questions. It's a solely question and answer meeting. So don't worry about that. And then after that, once you sign up, we have a more in-depth tips and tricks meeting coming up. All right.
Okay, so obviously lastly, we just dumped a ton of information on you guys. So it's totally understandable, especially if you're a first year member, to be kind of confused about some aspects. So if you have any questions, send it to the Remind, send it to the Instagram, send it to the email, whatever. And or on October 7th, you can come to the Q&A and ask us questions there. Just don't be afraid to ask any questions that you might have, even if you think it might be like a dumb question. There are no dumb questions.
And before we conclude our meeting, we're going to take a screenshot like we did at our intro meeting. And actually, this screenshot is probably going to be included in our yearbook for this year. So once Danny stops sharing, I can take this.
So I was just going to go to the sign-in, guys. Password.
Yeah, one more time.
Can someone send that in the chat so I can get rid of that? I know this was a long meeting, so hopefully y'all aren't too tired. And this will be.
Yeah, thank you guys for sticking with us, and I hope that you learned a lot about all the different aspects. This is a lot longer than our meetings typically last, but we just had a lot of information to cover. So if you could turn on your video cams right now while we take our picture.
I was still waiting.
Good.
Okay, I see that a lot of people are turning their cameras on right now, so I'll give it a couple more seconds. Okay. Ready? We're going to start with the first page. Everyone smile. Do the DECA diamond if you still remember it. Ready, set, cheese. Okay. Okay, our next one. Oh, guys, this takes me so long. Sorry. Okay, next page. Smile. Okay. Okay, and then final page. We've got a lot of us in here. Thank you for hanging in, everybody. Okay.
And
Thank you. All right, I got it.
All right, that will conclude the meeting. If you guys, I know if I ask if anyone has any questions, none of you are going to say anything. So as you're leaving, if you have a question, you can stay in and ask us, but
yeah, or just type it.
Or just type it right now.
And we'll also, if you think of a question later, we'll be having that Q&A Zoom on October 7th, where you can get more in-depth questions. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
What is going on in the chat?
Ashton just got trolled for an hour straight.
Who is
Bruh.
It's terrific, right?
I can't do this anymore.
Stepping down immediately.
How am I supposed to focus on one? Oh my god.
Wait, do you know that person though?
Yes, I know that person.
It'd be so funny if you didn't. It's just like some random person like heckling you.
It's Peter 400. Where is he sitting in his UT like dorm room just doing this for fun?
He's at home.
He's at home.
Okay. Well, I'm glad he's coming to the meetings. Maybe like some kind of
So
advice.
you can do college DECA. Do any of y'all have any questions?
Yeah, if y'all don't have any questions, you can go ahead.
I think they just
Yep.
might be like AFK.
Yeah, they might be. You can just probably remove them.
Yeah.
I don't. Okay. Yeah. Unless officers have any questions, I gotta go.
Wait.
So.